This is Ashlyn, Andy, and Jameson with Morse v. Frederick. In 2002, Joseph Frederick held up a sign at school that said "Bong hits for Jesus," which was a slang reference to marijuana smoking. Principal Deborah Morse attempted to take the banner from Frederick, but he refused. Eventually, Morse confiscated the banner, and Frederick's behavior resulted in a 10-day suspension. His actions also violated the school policies against the advocacy of illegal drugs.
For our Check for Understanding question number 1, our question is, why did Morse take the poster away from Frederick? The answer is because the poster advocated for the use of illegal drugs.
So this court case is kind of different from the other ones that we have studied in this class. At the district level, they stated that there was no violation of freedom of speech because the principal had been granted immunity under the school policy. However, at the Court of Appeals, they did not agree with the district court's decision, and they used precedent with the Tinker v. Des Moines case. And because Frederick was punished for a message rather than a disturbance at school, the Court of Appeals ruled that his punishment was unconstitutional.
For our Check for Understanding question number 2, the question is, what was used as a precedent at the Court of Appeals, and what was the outcome for using this precedent? The case that was used was Tinker v. Des Moines, and the case was overturned and stated that Morse's actions restricted the freedom of speech was unconstitutional.
Arguments. Frederick argued that the suspension was in violation of the First Amendment right to freedom of speech, but Morse argued that the school policy against advocating for illegal drug use should be pardoned from the First Amendment.
The vote count was 5-4 in favor of Morse, and the Chief Justice was John Roberts. The ruling stated that the pardon from the First Amendment shall be granted when restricting student expression in advocation of using illegal drugs.
Check for understanding. When would school administrators be pardoned from the First Amendment? The answer is when restricting the advocacy of illegal drug use.
The significance of this case is that it shows us that the Constitution has a lesser protection at school or school-led events. This falls under the idea of safeguarding, which is the intention of protecting the interests of students and care, which allows them to take reasonable action to stop the encouragement of illegal drug use. Schools may also use their discretion on issues without violating a student's First Amendment right.
Check for understanding number 4. Why would the Constitution have less of an impact on school grounds? When talking about drugs specifically, the school can exercise more authority to protect the students and their interests.
Thank you for listening to our presentation. Now it's time to do an escape room.